Hello, and welcome back to the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Hey, we've been talking about the Enneagram, and in the previous episodes, we discussed the instinctive and the feeling triads of the Enneagram. Well, today, we are going to dive into the Thinking Triad, the final triad of the Enneagram, which is also known as the Head Triad. And we're going to take a closer look at types 5, 6, and 7. So, let's find out a little bit more about what drives your behavior or others who fall into this triad, and how to grow in your personal and professional life. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outward success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. The Thinking Triad consists of types 5, 6, and 7 on the Enneagram. But before we get any further into the Thinking Triad, I want to remind you once again about my perspective regarding the Enneagram. What we don't know about ourselves can ultimately hurt us and those around us. Working with the Enneagram allows us to develop the self-awareness that helps us understand who we are and why we perceive and relate to the world the way that we do. The reality is our past wounds and the beliefs that we've formed shape the way that we see and respond to our circumstances. And if we don't develop an understanding of our history and our responses to it, we'll ultimately be prisoners to it, blindly making the same mistakes and coping in the same ways and patterns we always have. Once we learn how and why we see and respond to the world the way that we do, we can be more intentional about getting out of our own way, and we can listen to the Holy Spirit's call to become more of the person that God created us to be. Now, back to the Thinking Triad, types 5, 6, and 7. These three types are primarily driven by their thoughts and their need for security and support. People in this triad often struggle with anxiety as their primary driving emotion and how they manage it. Each type has its unique way of dealing with this emotion and their environment. So let's explore each type in a little bit more detail. Type 5 is known as the Investigator. Investigators are perceptive, innovative, and curious people who strive to understand and master their environment. Investigators are typically very analytical, insightful, and independent. They have a strong desire to gain knowledge, and they often immerse themselves in their own interests in learning. They value privacy and autonomy, and they can sometimes be seen as kind of detached or withdrawn. When they're under stress, investigators tend to become even more isolated and overly secretive. They may withdraw from other people, hoarding their resources and their knowledge, and they struggle with feelings of inadequacy or overwhelm. they probably have difficulty asking for help. When they're in a more secure and balanced state, investigators are more engaged and generous with their knowledge. They balance their need for privacy with healthy social interactions, becoming both knowledgeable and accessible. So they're willing to share their knowledge for the good of others. Some tips for growth and development for the investigator is number 1, to engage with others. Practice sharing your knowledge and insights with other people. Collaboration can really enhance your own understanding of the knowledge you already think you've gained. Number 2, and this is a big one for the investigator, embrace vulnerability. Allow yourself to connect with others emotionally. It's okay to seek support and express your feelings. So it's okay to ask for help. Don't get to the point of overwhelm and cause you to isolate even more and become even more insecure. And number 3, balance activities. So ensure that you balance both intellectual pursuits with also physical activity and social engagement. So this might be the bookworm or the analyst who neglects their physical body and their social relationships in the security of seeking knowledge. So learn how to throw in a little bit of activity and social engagement. Type 6 is referred to as the Loyalist. Loyalists are responsible and trustworthy and security-oriented. They strive for safety and support. So some core characteristics are that loyalists are very loyal, obviously. They're cautious and very prepared. They have a strong sense of duty and they are excellent troubleshooters, always anticipating potential problems. They value security and they sometimes struggle with self-doubt and suspicion or almost paranoia. So under stress, loyalists can become very anxious and paranoid. They may overthink everything and become excessively cautious, doubting their own abilities and probably more so doubting the intentions of other people. When they're in a more secure or balanced state, loyalists are more confident and courageous. They trust their instincts and they're able to take some risks, balancing caution with decisive action. Some tips for growth and development for the loyalist are to, number 1, build self-confidence. Practice self-affirmation and trust in your abilities. Challenge negative thinking and focus on your strengths. Second tip is to seek reassurance. Open up to trusted friends or mentors for support and reassurance. Again, it's okay to ask for help. So remember, anxiety is the driver for this triad, and this is how it shows up. A lot of these types struggle with asking for help. Number 3, the third tip for the loyalist is to balance preparation. So prepare for the future without becoming paralyzed by all of the potential problems you can think of. Focus on taking actionable steps that help you feel prepared but don't paralyze you. So avoid the analysis paralysis, so they say. Now we have type 7, the final type on the Enneagram. This is the enthusiast. Type 7, the enthusiasts, are obviously enthusiastic, spontaneous, and adventurous individuals who strive for new experiences and satisfaction. So they're often sort of the free living and risk-taking individuals who seem carefree. They're fun-loving and optimistic and really versatile. They have a real zest for life and they're always seeking new adventure and possibilities. And they can sometimes struggle with focus and commitment because they're always looking for the next exciting thing. Under stress, the enthusiast can become scattered and sort of escapist or avoid responsibility. They might avoid pain and difficult emotions. So remember, the core emotion is anxiety. The enthusiast will do things to avoid feeling anxiety by constantly seeking distraction and new experiences. When they're in a more secure and balanced state, the enthusiast is more focused and content. They appreciate the present moment and they can commit to their goals, so they are better able to balance their adventurous spirit with some stability. Some tips for growth and development for the enthusiast are: number 1, to practice mindfulness, which means just stay in the present and appreciate the current moment. Mindfulness can help you focus and help reduce anxiety. Number 2, commit to your goals. Set realistic goals and follow through with them. Embrace discipline and consistency. And the third tip is to face challenges. So don't shy away from difficult emotions or situations that might bring about some anxiety. Confronting them can actually lead to more personal growth and resilience for the enthusiast. So I'm going to review these 3 types one more time. Again, this is the Thinking Triad. They struggle most with anxiety and how they manage it. We have type 5, the Investigator, who's very analytical, independent, and insightful. They have a strong desire to gain knowledge. Tips for growth are to remember to engage with others and not become too withdrawn in your own seeking of knowledge and protection from anxiety. Embrace vulnerability and balance activity along with intellectual pursuits. Type 6 is the Loyalist. They are responsible, trustworthy, and security-oriented people who strive for safety and support. They're very cautious and sometimes overly prepared. Their tips for growth are to learn how to build self-confidence and trust in their abilities, to seek reassurance and help from others, and to balance preparedness with just taking actionable steps. So not to get too paralyzed by the need for security and preparation. And finally, type 7, the enthusiast, the life of the party, the spontaneous and adventurous sorts, who might actually go overboard with their pursuit of seeking fun and excitement. So they need to learn how to practice mindfulness, to stay in the present, to commit to their goals and follow through, and to learn how to face challenges rather than shying away from what might be difficult emotions or situations. So I hope that this picture into the Thinking Triad has given you some insight into types 5, 6, and 7. Perhaps you've heard a little bit about yourself in one of these types. And recognizing your own patterns and those in others really can help you foster better relationships. It can help you grow in your relationships, in your leadership, and really just grow in your own knowledge and self-awareness. And self-awareness is always worth pursuing. In our next episode, we're going to just recap all of the Enneagram triads and discuss how to integrate this new knowledge of the Enneagram into your daily life. So if you're enjoying this series on the Enneagram, be sure to follow the show and again, leave a written review so that we can grow the show and reach more listeners who might enjoy this content. As always, my friends, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.